What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. We're back talking about rugby. Who'd have guessed it, right? You're on a rugby channel. Who'd have thought we'd be talking more about rugby? We're doing another preview video for the World Cup warm-ups. This one is for England versus Fiji. Already on the channel, we've got the New Zealand versus South Africa game and Scotland versus Georgia. So you can go check those ones out after this one if you haven't already. Of course, in the preview videos where we're going to run through the official teams that have been announced to play for both sides, having a look through the list, who we think some good picks, maybe some thoughts on how it sort of iterates how the team is going to be playing on the weekend, and then finally, of course, giving a score prediction, which so far I've done sort of okay. I've no doubt I'll probably go pretty wrong by the time we get around to the World Cup. If you enjoy this style of video, make sure to hit that like button because it really does help the channel. And if you enjoy your rugby content on YouTube, hit subscribe. It's free, it's easy, it really helps support the channel and get to as many people as we can before the World Cup. Now, England versus Fiji, the game, in all honesty, I'm probably the most excited for going into this weekend. There's a lot of big games going on elsewhere, and if you're supporting one of the other teams, you probably enjoy that one more. This one for me, they're going in as a neutral. I'm really looking forward to this one because Fiji are looking pretty good at the minute. They played France last week, came away with a loss, but I was really, really impressed by just the performance and the attitude they had towards that game. England, they're certainly on the ropes a bit at the minute. They had that loss to Wales. They managed to then beat Wales with 12 men. Then they lost to Ireland in what felt like a bit of a rusty game for Ireland, but they still came away with quite a convincing scoreline. They've got their whole debacle with red cards. We're not going to go too much into that. There's a bunch of videos on the channel about the red card situation as well if you're interested in that type of thing. But at the minute, England feel like they need a win. They feel like they really need to pull it all together and just sort of get some momentum going before that World Cup. But Fiji, going up against England at the minute, I would sort of put Wales and England, pretty level in terms of, performances and how we've been thinking about it. Even the scorelines in their, recent games have been showing that. And as a Wales supporter myself, Wales are going up against Fiji in that Pool C. I want to see how Fiji are going to perform against England so we can get a bit of a viewpoint for what we can probably expect in the World Cup. Starting out then with the England team, the home team that has been announced. A few changes to the team that we got to see going up against Ireland last week. Starting this front row, Ellis Genge, Theo Dan and Dan Cole coming in that tight head position. No Cal Sinclair. I haven't read anywhere that he's actually got like an injury or anything that's ruled him out of this game, but they've gone with Dan Cole for this weekend. Theo Dan, I'm looking forward to actually see a bit more from. He keeps getting sort of replaced or overlooked for the start of the game because they keep wanting to put, Jamie George or someone in. But Theo Dan's been named to that World Cup squad. He's heading out there. He needs minutes. Let him have some time on the pitch. Going up against Fiji, another physical side. Injury concerns are big concerns for every team in this weekend. It's so close to the World Cup. No real time to recover if you pick up a big injury. But Theo Dan probably wants the minutes more so than any of the other hookers, really. So hopefully he has a good game. In the lock department, then Maro Itoje goes back in alongside of Ollie Chesham this week, making a change in that lock department. Looking forward to see Chesham have a bit more game time, especially against a team like Fiji, where maybe the line-out is more contestable than against something like Ireland. Ireland are monsters at that line out, so I think maybe they could have a bit more fun in this one going up against Fiji. And then in that back row, Corny Laws goes in the blindside flanker. Jack Willis moves to open side, and Ben Earl slides back into that 8 jersey. That, of course, coming from Vunipola getting his red card, his match suspensions now going right into that World Cup. There was a lot of talks about whether Ben Earl will slide back, and the performances Ben Earl's been putting in at 7 has been really good, and I really hope he keeps up with that performances at 8. Maybe tone it down a little bit on the celebrations, as we've seen all the memes, as I'm sure you've all probably seen by now, with Ben Earl celebrating basically anything going England's way. He celebrates like they've done something truly tremendous. So hopefully he keeps up the good work rate, though, because I think he's had some very impressive performance over the last few weeks. Throughout the England team, to be fair, he's probably stood head and shoulders for me above almost anyone else in that England team. So I really hope he keeps that up towards the World Cup again, avoiding injuries. Because if Ben Earl goes out at 8, I'm actually not sure how many more players they've got left. They're going to have to start bringing more players back in to fill in that 8 jersey. In the halfback partnership, Alex Mitchell goes in alongside George Ford. Was going to be interested to see who was going to start this one. Obviously, again, Farrell with his red card situation, that whole debacle going on. It was always going to be between Ford and Smith who was going to be starting this one. They've gone for George Ford, bit more of an experienced, settled head, probably just to ease England into this game, just sort of sort themselves out, maybe get ahead on the scoreboard, bring on Marcus Smith to try out some different stuff in that second half. Probably a good move. And Alex Mitchell, still not seeing a great deal of him. Still a young lad. Looking forward to seeing him in this game. In the back line, though, is where this England team really mixing up a little bit now. In the centre partnership, Manu Tuilagi goes in alongside of Ollie Lawrence. Now, obviously, Both of these lads have had to fit it at 13 because Owen Farrell was playing that inside centre. Since then, they've sort of switched it up a bit. They've had him playing alongside Joe Marchant. Joe Marchant normally plays at 13, so Ollie Lawrence played 12, Marchant's at 13, Manu Tuilagi at 12, Joe Marchant at 13. This week they've gone for both of them on at the same time, so this is going to be interesting. It's a very dangerous pairing. They're going to come extremely hard at your defensive line, so Fiji got to be up for a physical game. Tuilagi's probably going to be hitting more like a crash ball, just first receiver, I'm going to smash through you. But against Fiji, they love that sort of thing, right? They're well up for the physical game. Ollie Lawrence picking the better lines. I can see some people maybe wanting this to be the other way round and having Ollie Lawrence at 12 and Tuilagi at 13. I'm looking forward to see this, though. I think this might work for them. I'm just sort of hoping that Tuilagi is going to be, not a little bit selfish with the ball. I really hope he's probably going to receive that ball as the, first receiver. I would like him to see, some little pop passes, maybe run a really dangerous line so people have to focus on him in the defensive setup and then get a little pop pass to Ollie Lawrence who can hit a better gap. I quite like it as a centre partnership. I'm looking forward to see how this one works out for them. And then in the back three, Johnny May comes back in. Johnny May's back in the side after getting left out of the World Cup squad. He's like, do you want to still play for us, please? Max Malin's on the right wing and Freddie Stewart in that fullback position. Very surprised to see Johnny May come back in. I believe Anthony Watson's got an issue. I'm not sure if he's actually been ruled out of the World Cup, but I know he's picked up an injury. So maybe this is a sign that Johnny May's going to slide into that World Cup team if Anthony Watson's going to have to go out for it. So get some minutes in. If that is what's happening and the direction it's going, I think that's a great move because time to get these lads in right now. But I was just really surprised to see Johnny May's name back in this after getting, not called up to the World Cup squad. Across the board, it's a decent looking England team. A lot of big names in there. They know Fiji are going to come at them pretty hard for this one. It feels like a game they need to win, right? I mean, yeah, they got the win over Wales, but Wales were performing really badly in that game, managing to win with 12 people at one point. A really big success for them. They didn't exactly play brilliantly in either of those Wales games, nor did Wales. And then that loss against Ireland as well. I really feel like England need to sort of gel together in this one and grab a win and get a bit of momentum going towards that World Cup. In the replacements, Walker, Marler and Will Stewart will be coming on in that second half. Who would be your preferable choice for this? I think I might still prefer the starting front row that's on. Maybe I'd prefer Jack Walker as opposed to Theo Dan. That's mainly because I don't know a great deal about Theo Dan. But nice to see them mixing up that front row, get a few more testing options in there this week. The rest of the replacement forwards, David Ribbans moved on to the bench from starting last week. And Lewis Ludlam, another one you want to see avoiding injuries this week. I assume might come on for Courtney Laws, just to make sure he's safe. Nice to have a utility player to do lock and flanker. Maybe do first half and then bring him on in that second half. I'm not sure who would take over the captaincy after that because obviously no Farrell. Maybe Toje would take over the captaincy from that. I think he's done captaincy before. And then in the replacement backs, Danny Kerr, Marcus Smith and Joe Marchant. So maybe they'll keep the Tuilagi Lawrence partnership on because Marchant could come on the wing if you wanted to. I think it's more likely Marchant will come on at centre and they might take one of them off. Tuilagi, they don't really seem to keep on for the full 80, right, do they? So maybe he'll come on at sort of 50 minutes and they'll swap it back. Maybe they'll test. Maybe this is a testing team to see what they're going to do for the World Cup. Maybe they even try doing George Ford, Marcus Smith 10-12 and put someone like Joe Marchant on the wing or the centre where you need him to. Not that I would ever really put George Ford or Marcus Smith at 12, personally. But maybe they're going to test some stuff out, see if they want to go back to how they were doing with Farrell at 12. Maybe they'll test this thing out. That's sort of what this team screams to me. It screams a little bit more like we're testing a lot of different things out for this game in prep for the World Cup. Maybe a little bit more than it being about this game in particular. Moving on then, let's talk about Fiji. Now, Fiji last week went up against France, did come away with a loss. But boy, oh boy, did they give the French team a hard old game. It was quite an exciting game, to be fair. One thing that is just coming away from this Fiji team is they don't stop. They just don't stop the whole game. There were so many phases in that France game where at the end of it, the referee would blow the whistle, eventually a knock-on or something would happen. You'd see all the Fiji lads high-fiving, whooping, cheering each other on. You'd turn to the other side of the field and half the French players have got medics next to them. These lads don't care. They're made of titanium and they just don't stop. So the English defence is going to be tested for this one. I actually think the English defence is probably quite well set up to Fiji. We didn't really see a lot of different attacking options from Fiji as opposed to give it to one of them, run it forwards. If you get an offload, he runs it forwards. We didn't really get to see a lot of different angles or different testing from Fiji last week. So England normally running that blitz defence and how quickly they are off the line, that can mitigate out how fast Fiji come off the line and how many game meters they make. So maybe the English defence is going to be set up for this. I would be expecting somebody to take over some little chip over the tops, you know, kicking duties and stuff. But we'll have to see how they get on. Now, again, my knowledge on the Fiji team, not superb. We've got a few changes from last week, though, from the team that played. France Matavesi coming in that forward pack in the hooker position. We've also got no Botier, who I was looking forward to see a bit more from. He's not on the bench either, so I'm not sure if he picked up an injury in that game, but I do like him as a player. I hope he's all okay for the World Cup. The halfback partnership of Lomani and Muntz, I was quite impressed by last week. Muntz was a name I didn't really know going into the game against France last week, but man, what a nuisance he was causing for a lot of the French defenders. Name kept popping up everywhere. Looking forward to see how he gets on against England. One of the big names coming back in, though, Naya Kalevu. I mean, one of the bigger names, literally. Actually, he's quite a long name for him. But of course, one of the bigger players coming in. Naya Kalevu, the captain I always think of when I think of Fiji, you know, a superb player in that outside centre. One of those players that if you're going to be joining the fantasy for the World Cup fantasy, might be one to keep an eye on, because Naya Kalevu is certainly a bit of a nuisance, especially when he's partnered up with Semi Randraja, right? Semi Randraja is sort of like Tuolagi. He's just going to run forwards. He's going to run through you. Naya Kalevu is a lot more sort of tactical. He runs around the outside. I've been seeing Wales play Fiji down at the Principality. Naya Kalevu was a nuisance all day long for the Welsh defence. He will find gaps, and he has got some pace to burn, even for a centre. So, you know, keep a special eye out for him. Unfortunately, still no Josh Tuisova coming in. He had to pull out just before that game last week, which is a real shame. I was looking forward to see him and Wainakolo, who took over his position for that France game, also not in the team. So a few changes to the team from last week. Unfortunately, again, my Fiji knowledge, not always the best. I'm still trying to learn a little bit about Fiji rugby as we go through the World Cup. Hopefully, I'll be able to talk a little bit more in some of these preview videos about what to expect from the Fiji team. In terms of a scoreboard then, what on earth do we think this is going to end up? Because England in these sorts of games sometimes really turn up. They run away from it. They take it by like 20, 30 points. They have a superb game. But this Fiji team is looking good. England will have to sort of consider this game, I think, for them to be almost like, you know, what to sort of prep for when you come up against a team like Japan in their World Cup in Pool D. At the minute, I would put Fiji ahead of Japan. If they played right now, I would expect Fiji to be able to... In fact, they won the last game, actually, right? Fiji won 35-12. They actually beat Japan by. So considering that, maybe I would put Japan slightly lower. This could be England's sort of tester for what to maybe expect when it comes round to, you know, a Japan team coming in. Probably not in play style. They play extremely different in terms of play style. But, you know, in terms of the talent they're going to be coming up against in that Pool D, Argentina are a bit of a different animal. But, you know, if they can go on to beat Fiji, I would feel more confident that they could go on to beat Japan in that World Cup. And I really think England need the win. But there's so much sort of energy and sort of hype around this Fiji team leading towards this World Cup, where they themselves are looking to maybe cause an upset at this World Cup, get out of that pool stage, get into the quarterfinals, maybe even take it further. In all honesty, the way some of the teams have been performing recently, there's no reason why Fiji genuinely couldn't look at, could we actually get on towards the semi-final? So they're going to put everything into this game. England seem to be like they're going to be testing a lot of different things out, giving a lot of people minutes on the pitch. They need to get away with a win here. I still think I'm going to pick England to win. France came away last week with a 17-point win. I don't know if I see England doing near that. I think it would be a lot less for me. I'm going to say an England win. I'm going to say by 10. That's where I'm going to hold up in the middle of. But of course, guys, make sure you drop down in the comment section your thoughts on the teams as well as your own score predictions. Make sure you're getting them up on the Super Brew before the game on Friday, the All Blacks versus Springboks game. Make sure you lock them all in before then, just to make sure that your picks are safe. And we'll be going over those results on Monday and naming our champion. I'm currently in the lead. I don't want to brag too much, so, make sure you can knock me off my top spot just before we get to the World Cup. I hope you've all enjoyed this one today, guys. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.